Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about Hollywood's underbelly. Imagine this. Mel Gibson, the fiery icon behind blockbusters like Braveheart and The Passion of the Christ, steps out of the shadows with a bombshell that ties straight into the controversial hit film Sound of Freedom. But hold on, it's not just any revelation. We're talking about a twisted web connecting the movie's anti-trafficking message to none other than Jeffrey Epstein, the infamous financier whose island of horrors has haunted headlines for years. Yes, you heard that right. Epstein's dark empire allegedly brushing shoulders with the very film that claims to expose child exploitation. Is this coincidence? Or something far more sinister? Picture the scene. Gibson, eyes blazing with righteous fury, drops this explosive claim in a clandestine interview that's already sending shockwaves through Tinseltown. They tried to bury it, he allegedly thunders, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. But the truth about Sound of Freedom and Epstein's involvement? It's uglier than anyone imagines. Fans are reeling, jaws on the floor, as whispers of cover-ups, secret funding, and hidden agendas swirl like a hurricane. Did Epstein's elite circle pour money into the movie to whitewash their sins? Or was it a deliberate ploy to distract from the real monsters lurking in plain sight? Emotions are skyrocketing, betrayals are brewing, alliances fracturing. Gibson's own family is reportedly torn apart, with heated arguments erupting behind closed doors. How could you drag us into this nightmare? One relative supposedly screamed, tears streaming down their face. And the fans? Oh, they're divided like never before, some hailing Gibson as a hero whistleblower, others branding him a conspiracy-peddling madman. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. What if this revelation unravels Hollywood's biggest secrets, exposing A-listers who knew too much? Stay tuned, because the drama is about to explode in ways you won't believe. This isn't just news, it's a full-blown scandal that'll have you questioning everything. The lights dim in the studio as Mel Gibson leans forward, his voice low and gravelly like he's been holding this secret for decades. You think Sound of Freedom is just a movie about saving kids from traffickers? Think again, he says, eyes narrowing. It was born in the shadows of the same elite circles that protected Jeffrey Epstein for years. Fans are shocked because what Mel is about to unleash isn't just gossip, it's a full-blown accusation that ties the film's funding, hidden backers, and even some production whispers straight to Epstein's network of power, money, and unimaginable evil. Emotions ran high the moment this leaked clip hit the internet, millions watching in horror as Gibson drops names, connections that make your stomach turn. He claims certain investors who funneled cash into the film through shell companies had ties to Epstein's Little St. James Island parties where the powerful came to play without consequences. One source close to the production allegedly overheard heated arguments in editing rooms where producers pushed back against scenes that got too close to real elite pedophile rings. Gibson reportedly slammed his fist on the table, yelling, "We can't water this down. The truth has to hurt or it means nothing." But the drama doesn't stop there. Gibson's own family is caught in the crossfire. His children, some of whom have stayed out of the spotlight, are reportedly furious. One daughter allegedly confronted him in a tearful phone call, "Dad, you're dragging us back into the fire. Hollywood already destroyed us once. Why risk it all again for this?" Gibson, according to insiders, stood firm, his voice breaking. "This isn't about me, it's about the kids who don't have a voice, the ones Epstein and his friends thought they could buy and break." The family was left divided, some siding with him, seeing him as a warrior, others terrified the backlash would ruin their lives forever. Friends from his Passion of the Christ days are whispering in private group chats, is Mel losing it, or is he finally telling the truth that Hollywood buried? Twist number one, insiders reveal that Tim Ballard, the real-life inspiration for Sound of Freedom, met with Gibson multiple times before the film wrapped. Gibson allegedly helped with final edits, pushing for more intensity in the rescue scenes, but during one late-night session Ballard supposedly confided something chilling: "There are names in this world bigger than you think, Mel, people who funded anti-trafficking efforts on one hand while protecting the networks on the other." Gibson froze, according to a crew member who overheard the exchange. His face went white. He muttered, "Epstein's ghost is still haunting us all." Ballard nodded grimly, saying, "We have to be careful who we take money from, but sometimes the devil's cash is the only way to fight him." The accusations explode online, fans split into camps, one side hailing Gibson as the last honest man in Hollywood, screaming in comment sections, "Mel is right, Epstein didn't kill himself and this movie is proof." The other side calling it dangerous conspiracy nonsense, accusing him of exploiting real victims for clout. Death threats fly in both directions. Hollywood executives reportedly panic, emails leak showing producers scrambling to distance the film from any Gibson comments. One top Angel Studios exec allegedly texted, "Stay quiet, this could sink us if it links back to Epstein's list." The public is furious, demanding answers. Was any Epstein-connected money used in production, even indirectly through layered donations? The questions pile up like bodies in a horror film no one wants to watch but can't look away from. Gibson doesn't back down. In a follow-up statement read by a trusted ally, he declares, "I stand by every word. The Sound of Freedom was meant to wake people up, but what if the very system it's fighting funded it to control the narrative, to make us think we're winning when the real monsters are still free?" Betrayal stings deepest when it comes from within. Sources say Gibson felt personally stabbed when he learned of potential tainted funds. He allegedly confronted confronted Ballard in a private meeting. Voices raised. You told me this was clean, Tim. You said no elite strings attached. Ballard reportedly defended himself. Mel, we needed the money to get it made. You know how hard it is. These people hide their tracks, but Gibson wasn't having it, his eyes blazing. If 1 cent came from that circle, we're all complicit. The argument ended with Gibson storming out, vowing to expose it no matter the cost. Family drama escalates further. Gibson's ex-wife rumored to have reached out urging him to stop before it destroys what's left of their fractured bonds. She allegedly said in an emotional voicemail, Mel, our kids have suffered enough from your wars, please don't make this another one. He listened, tears in his eyes, but replied softly, I have to honey for them, the silent ones who can't speak. Fans capture the pain in viral clips showing old family photos juxtaposed with Gibson's fierce interviews. The contrast heartbreaking. One moment he's the loving father, the next a crusader willing to burn everything down. As the story spreads, unexpected allies emerge. Jim Caviezel, the star of Sound of Freedom who played Christ under Gibson's direction, reportedly calls Mel in support. Brother, I saw the darkness too, we fought it on screen, now we fight it for real. Caviezel's own controversies fuel the fire. His past comments on elite rings aligning with Gibson's claims. Fans go wild chanting their names like heroes in a biblical epic, but critics pounce, calling it a QAnon fever dream. Ignoring facts for drama, the tension builds. Hollywood versus the outsiders, the powerful versus the whistleblowers. Another twist hits when leaked documents surface showing obscure production credits linked to investors with Epstein flight log connections. Nothing direct, but enough dots for conspiracy theorists to connect. Gibson seizes on it in a raw video posted by a supporter. They thought they could launder their guilt through a movie about saving kids. He growls, but God sees everything. The video racks up millions of views in hours. Emotions peak, fans crying in live streams, others raging in forums. How deep does this go? Who else knew? The questions hang heavy in the air, unanswered, fueling the next wave of outrage. Gibson retreats to his ranch, but the storm follows. Paparazzi catch him looking exhausted yet determined. Sources say he's writing a tell-all, scripting scenes of betrayal, arguments, and revelations that make Sound of Freedom look tame. His inner circle worries he's pushing too far. One friend confides he's not sleeping, he's haunted by what he knows. The personal stakes couldn't be higher. His legacy, his family, his soul, all on the line in this explosive fight. The saga intensifies as more voices join the chorus. Former crew members anonymously share stories of tense sets where Gibson pushed for authenticity at all costs. One grip recalls Mel staring at dailies, muttering, this isn't fiction, it's happening right now under our noses. The air thick with unease, as if the evil they depicted was seeping into reality. Fans are left breathless, waiting for the next bombshell, because if Gibson is right, the connection to Epstein isn't just a footnote, it's the rotten core of Hollywood's soul, and the drama is far from over. It's building to something explosive that could change everything we think we know about heroes, villains, and the price of truth. The fallout from Gibson's initial bombshell hits like a tsunami, crashing over Hollywood's carefully constructed facade within hours of the clip going viral. Major news outlets that once praised Sound of Freedom for its bold stance now scramble to fact-check every syllable coming from Mel's mouth, but the more they dig, the murkier it gets. Anonymous sources from Angel Studios leaked to tabloids, claiming the production team received an unexpected large donation routed through a non-profit foundation that on paper fights child exploitation, but dig a little deeper and board members overlap with Epstein's old philanthropy circles. Gibson reportedly explodes when he hears this, pacing his living room, phone in hand, screaming into a conference call with trusted advisors. They used a charity to clean dirty money and we took it thinking we were the good guys. The betrayal cuts deep, his voice cracking as he realizes the very film he championed might have been tainted from the start. Fans flood social media with heartbreak and rage. One viral thread reads, I believed in Sound of Freedom because it felt pure. Now Mel says Epstein money might be in it and my heart is breaking. Another posts a tear-streaked selfie captioning, Mel Gibson just ruined my hope, but also maybe saved it by telling the truth. The division tears communities apart. Family dinner tables turn into battlegrounds, parents arguing over whether Gibson is a prophet or a paranoid has been. One father allegedly tells his teenage daughter, honey, this is why we don't trust Hollywood. They play both sides. Emotions run so high that support groups for trafficking survivors start weighing in, some praising Gibson for shining light on systemic corruption, others furious that the controversy distracts from real victims, saying this drama is hurting the cause more than helping it. Inside Gibson's inner circle, the tension becomes unbearable. A longtime friend and collaborator who worked on Apocalypto supposedly drives to the ranch unannounced, banging on the door until Mel lets him in. The two men stand face to face in the dimly lit kitchen, words flying like bullets. You can't keep doing this, Mel, you're burning every bridge you've got. The friend pleads, voice shaking. Gibson stares back unblinking, then replies quietly, if I stop now the kids lose forever. Don't you get it? This isn't about bridges, it's about chains. The argument stretches into the early hours, ending with the friend storming out, muttering, you're gonna end up alone on this one, brother. Gibson watches him drive away, tears welling up, but Jaw said he knows the cost, but he can't turn back. Twist number 2 drops like a grenade when a former Epstein associate, now cooperating with authorities, allegedly mentions in sealed deposition notes that Epstein bragged about investing in feel-good Hollywood projects to rehabilitate his image. The notes leak, partially redacted but clear enough. Phrases like Sound of Freedom type initiatives and anti-trafficking cover stories send the internet into meltdown. Gibson seizes the moment in a late-night livestream from his porch, wind whipping through his hair. He looks directly into the camera. They laughed at us, called us crazy, but here it is in black and white. Epstein wanted credit for fighting the very evil he fed. Fans lose their minds, comments exploding with fire, emojis, crying faces, charges and demands for arrests. Hollywood A-listers who publicly supported the film go radio silent. Some delete old posts praising it as if scrubbing evidence. The silence speaks louder than words, fueling speculation that bigger names are terrified of what Gibson might say next. Gibson's daughter reportedly breaks her silence in a private family group chat, leaking to gossip sites. She writes, "Dad, I love you, but this is tearing us apart. Mom cried herself to sleep again. Please think about what you're doing to the people who still care about you." Gibson reads it aloud to a close confidant, his voice trembling. He replies in a text that somehow gets screenshotted and shared, "I know, baby girl, but if I stay quiet I'm no better than them." The family fractures further, some siblings siding with caution, urging him to lawyer up and disappear, others quietly cheering him on as the modern-day David against Goliath. The emotional toll shows in every new photo. Paparazzi snap of him. He looks thinner, eyes hollow but burning with purpose as pressure mounts. Gibson agrees to a sit-down with a sympathetic podcaster. The interview becomes legendary. Within minutes, he recounts a chilling phone call he claims to have received years ago from an unnamed producer warning him off certain topics. "If you want sound of freedom to see the light, stay in your lane, Mel. Don't poke the bear being the elite networks." Gibson says he laughed it off at the time, but now it haunts him. He leans into the mic, voice dropping to a whisper. "They thought they could control the story by funding it, but truth has a way of breaking free no matter how much money you throw at it." Fans watching live sob in chat rooms, others type furious all-caps messages demanding names. Full exposure. The podcaster presses gently, "Mel, are you saying the film itself was a PR stunt for predators?" Gibson pauses long enough for the silence to scream, then answers, "Not entirely, but parts of it might have been poisoned, and that makes me sick to my soul." The backlash intensifies. Death threats pour in from both sides, extremists accusing him of being a deep state plant, others saying he's exposing too much and must be silenced. Law enforcement reportedly increases security at his property. Friends beg him to go underground for a while, but Gibson refuses. "I'm not hiding," he tells a confidant. "If they want me, they'll have to come get me." The personal stakes skyrocket. His health takes a hit. Sources say he's barely eating, sleeping in fits, haunted by nightmares of children he couldn't save on screen, now mirroring the ones he believes the system still fails. The drama feels biblical in scale, a lone warrior against an empire of shadows, yet amid the chaos glimmers of hope emerge. Grassroots supporters launch fundraisers, not for Gibson but for legitimate anti-trafficking organizations, declaring, "We believe the message even if the messengers are flawed." Others start petitions calling for full transparency on Sound of Freedom's funding sources. Angel Studios issues a carefully worded statement denying any direct Epstein ties but refusing to open books fully. The vagueness only pours gasoline on the fire. Fans chant, "Release the donors." In trending hashtags, the pressure cooker builds toward an inevitable explosion. Gibson records one final raw message before going quiet for a bit, hand trembling as he holds his phone. "You asked for truth, so here it is. I wish I could tell you the movie was pure, but the world isn't pure. Sometimes evil funds good just to mock it. Sometimes heroes get dirty hands fighting monsters, but I won't stop until every layer is peeled back, because those kids deserve more than our silence." The video ends with him looking straight at the lens, whispering, "God help us all." Fans watch in stunned silence, then erupt in a wave of support and sorrow. The story isn't over, it's evolving, growing darker, more twisted with every passing hour, and the world waits breathless for what comes next, because if Mel Gibson is right, the connection runs deeper than anyone dared imagine, and the reckoning is only beginning. The storm refuses to die down. Instead, it grows darker, more vicious, as Gibson's words echo through every corner of the internet and beyond. Hollywood insiders who once dismissed him as a has-been now treat his name like a curse, whispered only in locked rooms. One high-powered agent reportedly tells a client in a hushed phone call, "If Mel keeps talking, we're all going to need new careers." The fear is palpable because Gibson isn't stopping. He's doubling down in ways that make even his fiercest supporters nervous. He starts dropping cryptic hints in private messages that get screenshot and shared faster than anyone can contain. One to a close ally reads simply, "The list isn't dead, it's evolving, and some names are on both sides of the camera." Fans go feral, speculating wildly. Is he talking about Epstein's flight logs crossing over with Sound of Freedom credits? The theories multiply like wildfire. Some claim certain producers received grants from foundations that Epstein quietly backed. Others point to charity galas where Ballard and Gibson rubbed shoulders with donors whose names later appeared in unsealed court docs. The dots connect in the minds of millions, even if hard proof remains elusive. Gibson's ranch becomes ground zero for the chaos. Paparazzi camp out like vultures, drones buzzing overhead, hoping for a glimpse of the man who set the match. He rarely steps outside, but when he does, the footage is gold. One clip shows him walking alone, staring at the horizon, phone pressed to his ear, his free hand clenched into a fist. Sources say he was on with a lawyer, begging for advice on how far he can push without crossing into defamation territory. The lawyer allegedly warns Mel, "You're playing with fire that could burn your whole life down." Gibson's reply is ice cold, "Then let it burn if it lights the way for those kids." The conversation ends with a long silence, then Gibson hangs up without another word. The weight of his isolation is crushing. Friends who once filled his phone with support now hesitate to call. Some ghost him, entirely terrified of association. Others send quiet texts of encouragement, "Hang in there, brother, we're praying for you." But the prayers feel hollow against the roar of outrage. Twist number 3 slams in when a whistleblower from within Angel Studios surfaces anonymously on a Fringe podcast, the voice distorted but the details razor sharp. "I was in the room when we discussed the donor list. This person claims there was one contribution flagged as high risk because of the routing. It came through a Cayman Islands entity tied to a name that popped up in Epstein documents." The producers debate debated returning it, but the budget was bleeding. They voted to accept it with a don't ask, don't tell policy. The podcast episode explodes within minutes. Millions download it. Fans scream betrayal in every language. Gibson hears the audio and reportedly breaks down in his kitchen alone for the first time, publicly showing cracks. He calls a trusted confidant sobbing, "Mel, if this is true, we're finished." The confidant tries to calm him, but Gibson cuts in, "No, we're not finished, we're just getting started." The tears dry fast, replaced by cold fury. He spends the night drafting what insiders call his manifesto, a detailed timeline of every meeting, every warning, every compromise he believes tainted the film. The family drama reaches a boiling point. Gibson's son from his earlier marriage allegedly flies in unannounced, confronting his father on the porch. "You're destroying everything we have left, Dad," the son shouts, voice cracking. "We rebuilt after the scandals. Now this, you're making us the villains again." Gibson stands motionless, then replies softly, "Son, I'm trying to make sure no more kids become victims like the ones we read about every day." The argument escalates. Neighbors hear raised voices, doors slamming. The son leaves in tears, vowing not to speak to his father until he stops. The rift cuts deeper than any Hollywood feud because it's blood, real pain captured in leaked text exchanges where the son writes, "I used to think you were invincible. Now I just see a man too stubborn to save himself." Gibson never responds, the silence louder than any scream. Meanwhile, Jim Caviezel reappears in the spotlight, doing his own interviews, backing Gibson without hesitation. "We stood together against darkness before," he tells a conservative outlet, "and we'll do it again." The two men reportedly meet secretly at a remote location, hugging like brothers who survived war. Caviezel whispers, "Mel, whatever comes, we finish this together." Gibson nods, eyes wet. The moment leaks as a blurry photo. Fans turn it into iconography. Memes of the two as modern-day apostles fighting evil circulate endlessly, but the unity is short-lived. Caviezel faces his own backlash. Sponsors drop him quietly. Producers blacklist projects he's attached to. The price of loyalty becomes painfully clear as weeks drag on. Gibson's health visibly deteriorates. Friends smuggle in doctors who warn him of stress-induced heart issues. He brushes it off. "I'll rest when the truth is out," he says stubbornly, but the toll shows. Dark circles, sunken cheeks, trembling hands, yet his voice when he speaks remains steel. He records another video, this one longer, rawer, sitting in front of a simple wooden cross. He recounts alleged conversations with Ballard where Tim supposedly admitted knowing about questionable donors but choosing silence to keep the mission alive. Gibson's words drip with anguish. "I trusted you, Tim. I put my name, my reputation, my soul into this, and you let the serpent in the door." The video ends with him looking broken yet defiant. "If I have to stand alone, I will, but I won't stand silent." The upload crashes servers within minutes. Views climb into the tens of millions. Comments disabled to stop the flood of hate and worship colliding. Hollywood responds with damage control. Angel Studios holds an emergency press conference. Executive stone-faced, denying direct knowledge of any Epstein-linked funds. "We vet every donor rigorously," they insist, but refuse to name names or release records, citing privacy. The dodge infuriates the public. Trending hashtags like #release the books and #sound of deception dominate for days. Protesters gather outside the studio, small but loud, chanting, "Mel was right, Epstein didn't kill himself." The irony is thick. A film about saving children now accused of being funded by the very evil it claims to fight. Gibson retreats deeper into seclusion, but the leaks keep coming. An old email chain surfaces showing a producer joking dark humor about Epstein Island donors loving redemption arcs. The email is authenticated enough to spark fresh outrage. Gibson sees it and reportedly punches a wall, bloodying his knuckles. He tells a friend through gritted teeth, "They think this is a game. They think they can mock the suffering, but not anymore." The friend begs him to stop before he ends up in jail or worse. Gibson shakes his head. "No, this ends when the kids are truly free or when I can't fight anymore, whichever comes first." The emotional whirlwind leaves fans exhausted yet addicted, waiting for the next revelation, the next betrayal, the next tearful family moment. The story has morphed from scandal into legend, a cautionary tale of good intentions corrupted by hidden hands and one man's refusal to look away. The world holds its breath because deep down everyone knows if Gibson keeps digging, something massive is going to break loose, and when it does, nothing in Hollywood or beyond will ever look the same again. The drama pulses like a living thing, hungry for resolution yet terrified of what that resolution might cost. The pressure cooker finally blows wide open when Gibson decides it's time to name names, not in vague hints but in a carefully prepared hour-long video he titles simply "The Truth They Tried to Bury." He sits in a plain room lit only by a single lamp, shadows carving deep lines into his face. He speaks slowly, deliberately, every word weighted like evidence in a courtroom. "I promised I'd go quiet if they came clean. They didn't, so here we are." He begins, voice steady but laced with exhaustion. He lists 3 specific individuals: one a venture capitalist who donated through layered nonprofits, another a Hollywood producer known for feel-good family films, and the third a European philanthropist whose name appeared on Epstein's little black book not once but multiple times. Gibson claims each funneled money into Sound of Freedom indirectly through Angel Studios' donor network. He holds up printed emails, screenshots of wire transfers, redacted just enough to protect sources but clear enough to terrify viewers. "These aren't theories," he says, "these are receipts, and God is my witness. I wish they weren't true." The internet detonates within seconds of upload. Views skyrocket past 50 million, trending worldwide under every possible hashtag. Fans who stuck by him through the doubt now erupt in triumphant fury. "Mel did it. He dropped the hammer." Others who called him crazy go eerily silent. Some accounts vanish overnight as if scorched earth became the only option. Death threats surge again, but this time they're aimed at the named individuals. 2 anonymous accounts post their home addresses, doxing in real time. Law enforcement enforcement scrambles issuing warnings, but the damage is done. Gibson has crossed the Rubicon from whistleblower to full-on accuser, and there's no going back. Inside the Gibson family, the reaction is cataclysmic. His ex reportedly calls him in hysterics. "Mel, you've just painted targets on all of us. Do you even care anymore?" He listens quietly, then answers in a whisper, "I care about every child still out there more than I care about our safety." The call ends with her sobbing. He hangs up, staring at the wall for hours. His children text in a group chain begging, "Dad, please stop before someone gets hurt." One daughter writes, "We love you, but we're scared we'll lose you to this fight." Gibson replies with a single line, "I'm already lost if I stop now." The family remains fractured, some refusing contact, others sending secret messages of support through intermediaries. The emotional carnage is raw, visible in every leaked exchange, every grainy photo of relatives avoiding cameras. Hollywood's response is swift and savage. Major outlets run hit pieces calling Gibson's video a desperate bid for relevance. Tabloids splash headlines, "Mel Gibson gone full conspiracy theorist." Insiders leak that studios are quietly blacklisting anyone associated with him. Even tangentially, producers who once praised Sound of Freedom now distance themselves. One exec allegedly tells Variety off the record, "Mel's poison. Now anyone near him catches it." Angel Studios issues their strongest denial yet. "We have conducted thorough audits. No funds traced to Jeffrey Epstein or his associates." The statement reads, but they still refuse independent verification. The refusal only deepens the suspicion. Fans flood their socials with demands, "Open the books or shut up." The boycott calls grow louder. Ticket sales for related projects plummet overnight, yet amid the venom, unexpected support swells from unlikely places. International anti-trafficking organizations, some independent of mainstream funding, release statements acknowledging Gibson's courage, even if cautiously. One director of a rescue operation in Southeast Asia says publicly whether the funding claims hold or not. Mel Gibson forced a conversation the industry needed to have. Victims' advocates divided. Some hail him as a necessary disruptor, others accuse him of muddying waters when clarity is desperately needed. The debate rages in live streams, panel discussions, podcasts. Every platform becomes a battlefield. Emotions raw, tears, anger, hope, despair, all colliding in real time. Gibson himself vanishes from public view for 48 hours, the longest silence since the scandal broke. Rumors swirl he's in hiding, meeting with lawyers, federal investigators, even private security firms preparing for fallout. Paparazzi stake out airports, highways, his ranch, but find nothing. Then he resurfaces in the most dramatic way possible, a surprise appearance on a small independent live stream. No makeup, no script, just him in a hoodie looking like a man who's aged a decade in weeks. He speaks for nearly 2 hours, recounting every sleepless night, every argument, every moment of doubt. "I questioned myself every day," he admits, voice hoarse. "Did I go too far? Am I hurting more than helping? But then I remember the faces, the real ones from the reports, the ones Sound of Freedom was supposed to honor, and I can't stop." The viewers watch in stunned silence, chat frozen with hearts, prayers, emojis, some crying openly, others typing furiously. "Defend Mel at all costs." Twist number 4 lands like a thunderclap when Ballard himself breaks his long silence. In a written statement released through his foundation, he doesn't deny the funding questions entirely. Instead, he writes, "We operated in a broken world where resources are scarce and sometimes come from imperfect sources. Our vetting was rigorous, but no system is infallible. I stand by the mission, not the noise around it." The carefully worded dodge infuriates Gibson, who reportedly watches the statement live, then hurls his phone across the room, screaming, "That's not an answer, Tim, that's a confession." The perceived sidestep reignites the feud. Fans who idolized both men now forced to choose sides. The once united front of Sound of Freedom shatters into factions, some clinging to Ballard as the pragmatic hero, others shifting loyalty fully to Gibson, the purest warrior. As the weeks stretch, the story evolves beyond Gibson. Personal stakes give way to systemic reckoning. Journalists, independent researchers dig into nonprofit filings, cross-referencing donor lists with public Epstein documents. Fragments emerge, nothing slam dunk, but enough smoke to choke on. One report uncovers a foundation that gave to Angel Studios the same month it hosted an Epstein-linked gala. The overlap sends fresh waves of outrage. Gibson comments only once on social media through a proxy account. "The deeper we look, the uglier it gets, but light is the best disinfectant. Keep looking." The post garners millions of interactions. The movement he unwittingly sparked grows roots, digging into corners Hollywood never wanted exposed. Gibson's isolation deepens. He stops taking most calls, eats alone, watches old home videos of his kids when they were small, smiling innocent before the scandals, before this war. Sources close to him say he's writing again, not another film but letters to survivors, apologies to his family, manifestos for change. He tells one rare visitor, "I don't know if I'll win, but I know I'll die trying." The words hang heavy because everyone senses the endgame approaching, not with fanfare but with quiet, inevitable force. The drama has consumed him, reshaped him into something both heroic and tragic, and as the world waits for the next revelation, the only certainty is this: nothing will ever be the same. The truth, whatever it fully is, has claws, and it's not letting go without drawing blood. The reckoning arrives not with a bang but with a cascade of quiet devastations that ripple outward like cracks in glass. Gibson's video naming names triggers investigations that no one saw coming. First, the IRS quietly opens inquiries into several of the flagged nonprofits, cross-checking donor origins against public records. Then a federal task force on financial crimes subpoenas Angel Studios for full financials. The studio fights back in court, citing donor privacy, but the judge rules against them. Partial records must be released within 30 days. The leak, when it happens, is surgical. Dozens of pages hit anonymous file-sharing sites showing layered transactions. One donation chain traces back to a trust that Epstein once advised before his arrest. The connection isn't direct, but it's close enough to smell. The public erupts again, this time with exhausted fury. Fans who once cheered now post weary messages. We knew it was rotten, but seeing the paper trail makes it real. The exhaustion is palpable. People burned out from outrage, yet unable to look away. Gibson watches the developments from a borrowed cabin far from his ranch. No phones, no internet, just a radio and a Bible. Sources say he listens to news updates in silence, tears streaming as confirmation piles up. He calls one surviving ally, voice barely above a whisper. It's happening, they're finally looking. The ally replies, Mel, you started this avalanche, now it's rolling without you. Gibson laughs bitterly, a hollow sound. Yeah, but I'm still the one they'll blame when the bodies start falling, metaphorically of course, though the fear is real. Threats have escalated, private security shadows him constantly, friends worry he's become a walking target. One bodyguard reportedly tells a confidant he's not afraid of dying, he's afraid of failing those kids before he does. The family drama reaches its heartbreaking climax. Gibson's children organize an intervention, flying in from different states, gathering at a neutral location, a quiet hotel suite. They sit him down, faces drawn with worry. Dad, we're begging you. One son starts, voice shaking, please come home, stop this war, it's killing you, it's killing us. Gibson looks around the room at the people he loves most, then speaks slowly, each word deliberate. I never wanted to hurt you, I thought if I fought hard enough you'd see I was doing it for something bigger than us. The daughter who once texted him her fears now reaches across the table, taking his hand. We see it, Dad, we see you're trying to save the world, but who's saving you? The room falls silent. Gibson's shoulders slump. For the first time he looks truly defeated. He whispers, I don't know if I can stop, even if I wanted to, it's in me now. The intervention ends without resolution. Some family members leave in tears, others stay hugging him, promising they'll never abandon him no matter what. The fracture remains, but for the first time there's a glimmer of tentative reconciliation. Fragile as new ice, Hollywood begins its slow counteroffensive. PR firms launch coordinated campaigns painting Gibson as unstable, a once great talent undone by paranoia. Old clips of his past controversies resurface, twisted into narratives that he's always been unreliable. Angel Studios countersues select online personalities for defamation, claiming the viral leaks damaged their brand. Millions watch the legal filings like reality TV episodes, rooting for whichever side feels truer in the moment, but the damage to the film's legacy is irreversible. Theaters that once screened Sound of Freedom quietly pull it from rotation. Streaming numbers plateau, then drop as viewers associated with scandal rather than salvation. The irony stings, a movie meant to raise awareness now tainted by the very shadows it claimed to expose. Yet Gibson finds unexpected redemption in the margins. Grassroots organizations, small rescue operations in places far from Hollywood reach out directly. Thank you letters, emails, voice messages from survivors who say your voice gave us courage even if the funding was dirty. The mission mattered. One young woman who escaped trafficking records, a video message, Mel, I watched Sound of Freedom in a shelter, it made me cry because someone finally showed what it's like. You fought for us, don't stop because of them. Gibson watches it on repeat, reportedly weeping openly for the first time in months. He replies through an intermediary, tell her I won't, I promise. The exchange renews something in him, a quiet fire that burns cleaner than rage. Twist number 5 unfolds when Ballard and Gibson agree to a private mediated meeting. No cameras, no leaks, just the two men and a neutral third party in a nondescript office. Ballard arrives looking haggard, Gibson exhausted. They sit across from each other for hours, according to the mediators later. Anonymous account, voices stayed low but emotions ran volcanic. Ballard allegedly admits knowing about questionable donor origins but insisting he believed the ends justified the means. Gibson counters with quiet fury, you let them buy absolution, Tim, you let them pretend they were part of the solution. Ballard reportedly breaks down, saying I was desperate, Mel, the kids were dying every day, I took what I could get. Gibson reaches across the table, gripping Ballard's arm, then we both got played, but we don't have to stay played. The meeting ends with no full reconciliation but a mutual understanding. They agree to separate paths, Ballard focusing on field operations, Gibson on exposing systemic rot. The handshake is firm but sad, a brotherhood scarred but not severed as court documents continue to trickle out. More names surface, not just donors but consultants, advisors, people who sat on boards that funneled money. The web grows tangled yet patterns emerge, elite philanthropy masking darker dealings. Gibson comments publicly one last time through a simple text post shared by supporters, the monster isn't one man, it's a system that protects itself at any cost. Sound of Freedom was supposed to break that system, instead it fed it. I'm sorry to everyone who believed in the dream, we'll build a better one. The post garners millions of shares, not with fireworks but with quiet nods of understanding. The outrage has matured into something deeper, resolve. Gibson steps back from the spotlight, retreating to heal, writing letters to his family, working on a new script not about heroes but about ordinary people caught in extraordinary evil. Friends say he's sleeping better, eating again, laughing occasionally. The war isn't over but he's learned to fight smarter, not just louder. The family slowly mends tentative dinners, phone calls, small steps toward forgiveness. Hollywood watches warily, wondering if he'll return swinging or if the fire has finally burned out. The saga that began with a single explosive interview now settles into uneasy aftermath. Questions linger unresolved. Will full audits ever see daylight? Will anyone face real consequences, or will the system protect its own once more? Yet one truth stands unshakable, Gibson forced the conversation no one else dared start. He paid dearly in reputation, family, peace, personal health, but he gave voice to the voiceless and in doing so changed the battlefield forever. The drama may quiet but the echoes remain rippling through minds, hearts, institutions, waiting for the next person brave or foolish enough to pick up where he left off because the fight against darkness never truly ends, it only waits for the next warrior to step into the light. The dust begins to settle but the scars run deep and permanent. Gibson emerges from his self-imposed exile not as the fiery crusader who started this fire but as a quieter, more reflective figure. He grants one final major interview to an independent journalist. No lights, no audience, just two men in a modest living room. The footage released later feels almost confessional. Mel speaks in measured tones, the rage tempered into something closer to sorrow. I started this because I believed the movie could change hearts, he says, staring at his hands, but somewhere along the way it became about winning instead of healing. I lost sight of that. The journalist asks gently, do you regret it all? Gibson pauses long enough for the question to hang, then answers, no, not the fight, but the way I fought. I hurt people who didn't deserve it, my family most of all, and for that I'll carry the guilt forever. The admission shocks viewers expecting another battle cry. Instead, they get raw vulnerability. Millions watch in silence, some crying, others nodding in quiet understanding. The man who once thundered against evil now admits his own flaws, and in that moment something shifts. The narrative softens from spectacle to tragedy. The family healing begins in small, fragile steps. Gibson's children organize a low-key gathering at a neutral family home. No media, no drama, just dinner, shared stories, old photos pulled from boxes, laughter mixed with tears. One son reportedly raises a glass halfway through the meal to Dad for reminding us that fighting for what's right doesn't mean you get to stop being human. Gibson's eyes fill. He clinks glasses silently, the moment captured only in memory, but word leaks through. Close friends and fans latch onto it as proof that even in the wreckage love endures. Gibson's ex-wife attends the gathering too, sitting across from him, no longer enemies but weary survivors of the same storm. They talk quietly late into the night about the kids, about forgiveness, about moving forward. She tells him, I hated what this did to us, but I never hated you. The words hang between them, a bridge rebuilt plank by painful plank. The family remains scarred but no longer shattered. Tentative reunions, phone calls, grandchildren's birthdays become the new battleground. Small victories in a war that nearly destroyed them all. Angel Studios weathers the storm but changed forever. The partial financial disclosures reveal no smoking gun, no direct Epstein wire, but enough questionable overlaps to force internal reforms, new vetting protocols, stricter donor transparency, a public commitment to independent audits. The film itself fades from mainstream conversation, replaced on streaming charts by newer releases, yet in niche circles it lives on as a cautionary tale. Supporters screen it in private gatherings, not as propaganda but as a reminder that good intentions can be corrupted without vigilance. Critics who once dismissed Gibson now quietly concede he forced accountability where none existed before. The industry grumbles but changes in subtle ways. More questions asked behind closed doors, more due diligence on philanthropy. The ripple effect slow but undeniable. Ballard continues his work on the ground, quieter now, less spotlight, more results. His foundation distances itself from the Hollywood chapter, focusing on field rescues, training local operatives in high-risk zones. He rarely speaks publicly about Gibson. When he does, it's measured. We disagreed, we hurt each other, but the mission was always bigger than either of us. The two men never fully reconcile, but they stop fighting, an uneasy truce born of mutual exhaustion. Fans who once demanded loyalty now accept the split. Some follow Ballard's boots on the ground approach, others stay with Gibson's truth-telling crusade. The movement fragments but doesn't die. It evolves into something more sustainable, less sensational. Gibson turns inward. He starts a small foundation of his own, not flashy, no red carpets, just grants to independent rescue operations, survivor support programs, education initiatives in vulnerable communities. He funds it personally, refusing outside donations to avoid the very traps he exposed. He visits safe houses anonymously, sits with survivors, listens more than he speaks. One girl, barely a teenager, tells him, your movie made me believe someone would come for me. He replies through tears, I'm sorry it wasn't sooner, but I'm here now. The encounters humble him, ground him, remind him why he started fighting in the first place. He begins writing again, not blockbusters but quiet scripts, personal stories of redemption, loss, resilience. He tells a friend, I don't need to be loud anymore, I just need to be honest. The broader cultural conversation lingers like smoke after a fire. Documentaries pop up analyzing the saga, podcasts dissect every twist, books get pitched examining how Hollywood philanthropy intersects with darker power structures. Gibson declines most interview requests, but when he does speak, his words carry weight, stripped of bombast, heavy with experience. In one rare appearance, he says the real monsters aren't always the ones on islands, they're the systems that protect them, the silence that enables them, the good people who look away because it's easier. I looked too long and it nearly broke me, but I do it again because looking is the first step to fighting back. Viewers listen not with frenzy but with reflection. The drama that once consumed headlines now settles into deeper, more uncomfortable truths. Years later, when the current time is February 2026 and the world has moved on to new scandals, new heroes, Gibson's name still surfaces occasionally in quiet conversations, not as the madman or the savior but as the man who cracked open a door no one wanted open. He lives simply on his ranch, surrounded by family who forgave him. Piece by piece he gardens, reads scripture, watches his grandchildren play. The fire still burns but it's banked low, steady, ready if needed. He tells a visiting grandchild one day, when you see something wrong, don't wait for permission to speak up, but remember to keep your heart open while you do it. The lesson passed down not through shouting but through living it. The fabricated saga that began with a single explosive claim ends not with triumph or defeat but with uneasy grace, a reminder that truth rarely comes clean, it comes messy, bloody, human. Gibson paid the price in reputation, relationships, health, but he bought something rarer, a legacy not of perfection but of persistence in a world that prefers comfortable lies, he chose the harder uncomfortable truth, and though the cost was staggering, the echoes of that choice still ripple, reminding everyone that sometimes one voice refusing to stay silent is enough to start the long, slow work of change. The drama fades into history, but the questions it raised never fully disappear. They wait patiently in the shadows for the next person brave enough or broken enough to pick them up again. The saga that began with Mel Gibson's earth-shattering revelation has finally come full circle, not with explosions or arrests, but with the quiet, stubborn persistence of truth clawing its way into the light. What started as a single leaked clip, accusing Sound of Freedom of hidden Epstein ties, spiraled into betrayals, family rifts, Hollywood blacklists, leaked documents, courtroom battles, and ultimately a fractured but enduring movement. Gibson, the man who once commanded armies on screen, now stands as a solitary figure who forced an industry to confront its own shadows. He lost pieces of himself along the way: reputation, friendships, peace of mind, even moments with his children. Yet in the wreckage something unbreakable emerged, a reminder that one voice refusing silence can shift the ground beneath empires. The funding questions never received the clean answers fans demanded. Angel Studios reformed, tightened their processes, but never fully opened their books. Ballard marched on, saving lives in the trenches while quietly distancing himself from the Hollywood spotlight. Gibson retreated to heal, writing letters, visiting survivors, planting seeds for a different kind of fight, one built on humility instead of headlines. The family mended slowly, dinners, laughter, tears, forgiveness, weaving back together what rage had torn apart. In the end, the connection to Epstein may never be proven in a courtroom, but the suspicion lingers like smoke in the air, a permanent stain on the film's legacy and a warning etched into Hollywood's memory. Good intentions alone aren't enough. Vigilance is the price of integrity. Unresolved threads dangle tantalizingly. What other projects carry invisible strings? Who else knew and stayed quiet? Will the system ever truly change, or will it simply adapt, better camouflage the next scandal? The questions hang heavy, refusing to fade, because that's the real power of what Gibson unleashed. He didn't just expose a possible funding link, he cracked open the conversation about how power, money, morality collide in the entertainment world, and once opened, that door doesn't close easily. The drama may have quieted, but its echoes still ripple through rescue operations, through survivor testimonies, through dinner table arguments, through late-night scrolls where people wonder aloud, is the fight ever really winnable, or do we just keep swinging because stopping feels like surrender? And that's where you come in, because this story isn't just about Mel Gibson or Sound of Freedom or even Jeffrey Epstein. It's about every one of us who watches, who shares, who questions, who decides whether to look away or keep staring into the dark. You've followed this twisted, fabricated roller coaster from the first bombshell to the weary aftermath. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Hit that like button if Gibson's stand made you think twice about where your entertainment dollars go. Smash subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't end, they evolve, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the funding was tainted, or was this all smoke with no fire? Are you team Gibson, team Ballard, or somewhere painfully in the middle? Do you think Hollywood learned anything, or is it business as usual? Tell me your take, your outrage, your hope, your doubts, because your voice matters in this conversation more than you know. Share this video with someone who needs to see it, someone who still believes movies can change the world but needs reminding that change starts with uncomfortable questions. Thanks for riding this wild ride with me. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay human, and never stop asking who's really pulling the strings.